how's it going? It is Friday, July 31st, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. Today we'll get some coronavirus updates, what is the mental cost of the coronavirus pandemic, and answering questions from listeners. So, how are you guys doing today? You guys must be stoked because it is Friday. Yes, it is Friday, and I hope that you guys are can't wait to get this weekend started. Today is the last day of July. Crazy as that sounds, right? It's the last day of July, and we're getting ready for another weekend, so I hope you guys are looking forward to it. Let's start this weekend strong together here on the Morning Star Drive. Keep liking, keep commenting. I want to hear from you guys and see how you're doing. Post your song requests, stories, and questions too. Now remember, this Sunday we'll be meeting Daniel Lee from Malaysia. Looking forward to this fun interview. He's a producer, singer, songwriter, husband, and winner of Malaysian Idol Season 2. He's going to be cooking for me and sharing his story of his life in this history. Hope you guys really enjoy these Sunday edition interviews, really. And I hope you really enjoy them. And just meeting people from everywhere around the world in an intimate way, getting to see how they came to this history and what they're doing right now. And we just get to see amazing and talented members and see what their lives are like before and after. So you can catch all the Sunday editions on this YouTube channel, obviously, right? So go ahead, check them all out, see them all, because I know that people are really receiving a lot of grace from them. And remember, you can catch all the Sermons in the Sky videos. They are now all unlisted. So if you want to listen to them, please comment and I'll get back to you by email. So let's get into the featured artist of the day. It is a fun Friday, so I'm going to pick 3 really fun songs to listen to. The first one is going to be from Juice Star Aiden Verity, and it's her song she made for the Bubble Bop contest, and that song is Count on You. Fun song. The second song is Some Boys featuring Mariah Henry, Together with the Lord. Super fun song. And the last one is Mariah Henry featuring the Some Boys, and this is the song At the Start, and this is another one of those fun summer songs. So everyone, let's just get into this weekend, this last day of work before the weekend comes in, and let's start it off with some fun.
How do you like your ex? Trapped in a world where everything is yellow and red. Babe, I'm gonna be a little bit late. Can you meet me up by the car? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Take me somewhere far. I'm counting on you to get me out of this mess. I'm scrambling to find something else to do with the stress. Hey, babe, let me jump into your getaway car. Let's go. Let's go. Take me somewhere far. Let's go. Let's go. Take me somewhere far. I'm counting on you, count on you, I count on you, count on you, count on you, let's go, I count on you, let's go, take me somewhere far, count on you, let's go, I count on you, let's go, somewhere far, count on you, let's go, I count on you, let's go, take me somewhere on you.
We believe in the same God, but we are on different levels.
Put your hands in the sky if you feel alive. All the stories that we made just you and I, never losing all the passion. All this love is my obsession. Oh my gosh, this feeling got me heat stroke. His love like a billion pots about to heat though. I ain't never breaking from this bond, cause you and I are only one.
If you ain't living with the Lord, then who you with?
Who you with?
If you ain't living with the Lord, then who you with? You with? You 함께 together with the Lord every day, all day. You 함께 together with the Lord all day, all day. You 함께 together with the Lord every day, all day. You 함께 together with the Lord all day, all day.
Together with the Lord, I'm living my best life. Don't worry about a thing, you know it's only sunny life. We sing about memory stories that we share. We'll fall deeper in love as we stop and just stare. My eyes only on you, they sparkle with love. Don't forget my charm too. There will never be another. Live this life only for you. I give you this promise that I will hold true.
If you ain't living with the Lord, then who you with?
Who you with?
If you ain't living with the Lord, then who you with? You with? You 함께 together with the Lord every day, all day. You 함께 together with the Lord all day, all day. You 함께 together with the Lord every day, all day. You 함께 together with the Lord all day, all day.
We believe in the same God, but we are on different levels.
He can take you where you wanna go. You gotta really show him that you want it though. He can show you where you wanna be. You gotta put in words that'll be unseen. Look, and it's just like that. Take it to the golden city just with a snap. You don't even got a trip, no, we got your back. All you gotta do is sit back and relax. There's this love between you and I that is so strong. I don't wanna ever lose it, then I'll be alone. But if I leave his arms a wander, I'll be sitting all alone just to ponder. Make up your mind and act as you should. I'ma show you we can be the greatest dude I ever stood. Living with the Lord every day is like my paradise. If you leave your worries and concerns to him, you'll be alright.
Really wanna live with happiness and hope. You gotta live with the one you love the most. And don't forget that even on darkest roads, just find the Lord and grab your heart. Control your deeds. A pretty paradise right from the start.
Paradise.
All the night brings darkness. You're like the sun, yeah, you always shine so bright. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise. Together we're the greatest. Just like the moon and the stars, we light the night. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise.
Weather's fine, the temperature's cool. 7 on earth, cause I'm with you. Ain't nothing better when we live forever. When we make us to be one true love. Birds of a feather flock together. And it's just like that. Give you my love, cause I don't hold back. Call me your love, cause I know you got stacks. This love is real, cause we got it like that. Sandy walks on the beach, summertime. Feel the heat, that's a love paradise. Holding hands, cool breeze, cloud 9. Make heaven together with you and I. Sandy walks on the beach, summertime. Feel the heat, that's a love paradise. Holding hands, cool breeze, cloud 9. Make heaven together with you and I.
Really wanna live with happiness and hope. You gotta live with the one you love the most. And don't forget that even on darkest roads, just find the Lord and grab your heart. Control your deeds. A pretty paradise right from the start.
Paradise.
All the night brings darkness. You're like the sun, yeah, you always shine so bright. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise. Together we're the greatest. Just like the moon and the stars, we light the night. And I can't wait to see you, cause you are my only paradise.
He can take you where you wanna go. 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 He can show you what you wanna know. He can show you what you wanna know. I have realized I'm not alone, because living with you is like my paradise.
All till the night brings darkness. You're like the sun, yeah, you always shine so bright. And I can't wait to see you, 'cause you are my only paradise. Together we're the greatest, just like the moon and the stars, we light the night. And I can't wait to see you, 'cause you are my only paradise. Till the night brings darkness, you're like the sun, yeah, you always shine so bright. And I can't wait to see you, 'cause you are my only paradise. Together we're the greatest, just like the moon and the stars, we light the night. And I can't wait to see you, 'cause you are my only paradise.
And that is At the Start, Mariah Henry featuring the Sumney Boys. And of course, we had two other songs. Well, tell me, guys, that was a fun set of songs from Juice Star, Aiden Verity with Count on You. Sumney Boys featuring Mariah Henry, one of my favorite songs, together with The Lord. And of course, that last one we just heard, At the Start, super summer song. Mariah Henry featuring the Sumney Boys. And I hope you guys really enjoyed just starting it off really fun for this Friday and the last show for this week and the last show of July. Yeah, so it is the last day of July, which is kind of interesting and kind of fun. And it's very meaningful for me, too, because this is the 99th episode, which means that when we get back on Monday, it's going to be episode 100. And guys, there's going to be something new you're gonna see in the 100th episode. So make sure you join it, because you're going to see something, you're going to hear something and probably see something brand new, like, oh, this is so hot kind of thing. This is fire. So I do have something prepared for the 100th episode, so I hope you guys will definitely enjoy it more than anything else. All right, and that brings us into the coronavirus updates for the day and for the end of this week. In the world, there are 17.3 million cases with 672,000 deaths at 3.89%. Mortality rate, which means it went down. Just give you a heads up for today. There are two countries that are going up when it comes with when it comes to the mortality rate, and it's South Africa and Colombia. Everyone else is going down. All right. So the U.S. 4.6 million cases, 154,000 deaths, 3.36% mortality rate. Brazil, 2.5 million cases, 90,000 deaths at 3.53%. And one thing, if you kind of take a look at what's going on in Brazil, they're going to be hitting 100,000 pretty soon. India, 1.6 million cases, 35,000 deaths at 2.19%. South Africa, 471,000 cases, 7.5%. And yes, one of the countries that's been kind of spiking and going, well, not even spiking, it's just a little bit at a time, like 0.01% at a time. But it is going up. It's at 1.59% now. Mexico's at 408,000 cases, 45,000 deaths at 11.11%. And they're going down, which is great news. Colombia, 276,000 cases, 9,400 deaths at 3.42%. And yes, they're the other country that is going up in mortality rate. Philippines, the land of the Philippines with the most amazing, craziest singers ever. They're at 89,000 cases, 2,000 deaths, and they are at 2.22%. Sweden went down to 7.16% mortality rate, and Belgium, thank God, they are going down to 14.61%. We can really hope that they will start to dip a lot faster, like below 14% would be great. We look at infection cases for the day. There's a new person on top. Brazil, 71,000 cases. They're at a 3% growth rate. They're on top right now with most cases, and that's a record for them. The U.S. is at 67,000 cases with 1% growth rate, and India's 52,000 at 3%. So these three countries are just far, like, India's the third, and they're almost 5 times greater than the next country, and that's South Africa with only 11,000 cases at 2%. Colombia's at 8,600 cases at 3%, and Mexico 7,200 cases at 2%. And that's just for infection rate, and which is the reason why a lot of these are getting higher now is mainly because the testing is getting better and better. Like even we talked about India the other day. India now is getting their tests done in an hour, which is much better, and they're getting around 50 to 60,000 tests done per day, which is great news. Of course, the U.S. is so far ahead of everyone else when it comes to testing. I think they've tested like 55 million people already, which is quite amazing and higher than any other country per capita too. So that's a good sign for them. Which moves us into the coronavirus talk for today, and we're going to talk about mental health a bit because We know like just the regular stats in cases, like if you look at Generation Z, anyone born after 1995, so this new young generation, there's a 30% increase in mental illness just for Generation Z itself. They're called the lonely generation. They spend more time behind screens than they do talking with people, and it does make an impact on their mental health. But on top of this, there is like a lot of health experts are saying there will be a mental pandemic after this coronavirus pandemic finishes. And one of the biggest reasons is the impact on society is so huge. It's such a traumatic event for society. This lockdown and social distancing, it's completely changed the way we interact with each other and how much we interact with each other. So while it's happening, everyone's in survival mode, right? So this trauma phase right now is in the mode where we're just trying to deal with it. So we're not actually like digesting it and like really thinking about what it's doing to our life. But the real question is, what happens after the coronavirus ends? When this pandemic ends, what's going to happen? There's going to be residual stress, residual depression, residual financial pressure, and also people need to relearn how to engage with the world after we've been like this for months. And the risk factors for depression, anxiety, and suicide is very high. And if you think about it, things are going so fast. Doctors are saying that people can't process what is happening right now. So at the moment, it's kind of just generalized anxiety disorder that's happening to a lot of people. And it's mainly because people have never been through this. People have no choice but to go through it. And, they've never experienced this. So how can there's no choice but to worry. And those who already have mental illness like depression and anxiety, it's like this pandemic is just exacerbating the condition, and it's getting far worse. So this life disruption that we're all going through right now, we're going through it without understanding the long-term impact of it. Close relationships, unemployment, mental health, suicide, these things are all being interrupted, right? So close relationships are, we're not as close anymore. Unemployment rate is going up. Mental health is going up. Suicide is going up. And just in the statistics that we see for America, a 1% increase in unemployment equals 1% increase in suicide in the U.S. And if you look at the unemployment rate, we're looking at a large increase in suicide rates, which would probably be more towards 10 to 15% increase. So that's something that's quite scary too. At the moment, we're still in the peak, right? We're not really going over it. Like a lot of countries are still going in their peaks. And a lot of people are still just engaging with the immediate threat of the pandemic. We're just like on this fight or flight, and we're constantly stressed, but we're dealing with it. And when we're going through this stage, you got to understand how taxing it is on the mental health, because we're all on survival mode, just trying to get past it. And the big issue, once again, is once the pandemic is over, what happens is when you're engaged in the immediate threat of the pandemic, we're at the peak, right? So we're in the peak. But once the pandemic is over, there's a valley we go into, right? So we're going to hit a low. And eventually we need to get back to the baseline of where we normally are at. So the peak is higher than what we're, the state of the mind is much higher than the baseline where we're normally at. Then after it's done, we're going to go down into a valley, but we need to get back to that baseline. But the things that a lot of doctors and experts are saying is a lot of the people won't be able to get back to the baseline by themselves. And in essence, this could be its own pandemic and another infection, right? In a sense, as some people might be stuck at the top where it's super anxiety and worries and what am I going to do then? And some people will be stuck at the bottom where it's like bad depression and you don't know what's going to happen next, and there's too much uncertainty. And some people may never return to the peak or back to the baseline. So this is why a lot of proper treatment and programs should be funded by the government, because it is going to be a very, very difficult time to recover from it. And, everyone needs to play a role in what is happening. Like everyone does. Not just like friends and family, but even employers have to think about this. They need to realize that when the restrictions start to loosen, things aren't just going to go back to the way the world was. Like you can't go from 0 to 100 right away. It has to slowly and gradually get back to where it was. And we have to realize is social support, meaning friends, family, churches, prayer, meditation, and helping each other, that has to be very strong. People have to counsel very well. The counselors have to be ready, therapists, and all of us together have to really help with all this uncertainty and the fears that people are going through. And like I said, we're nowhere near going back down. Like even here in Malaysia, it's very interesting because even in Malaysia, we're still in fear that we might go back into lockdown because I believe it was last week where the Prime Minister basically said that if the infection cases go up to triple digits again, and it's around 20 to 30 right now. Actually, it might be a little bit more than that at the moment. Let me make a double check for Malaysia, but if it goes in triple digits, like a daily triple digits, they're going to go straight back into a lockdown, which means a lot of people are still in uncertainty right now. So let me take a look at Malaysia for a second. Malaysia, yesterday, it's at 13 yesterday, right? So it was at 13, so it's not too bad at all. At one point, it went to 30, but the number we're looking for is triple digits. Once it hits triple digits, that's when they said automatically we're going to go back into lockdown. So it does bring uncertainty, and a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, is it going to happen again? And there's no real, there's no safety net. There's no safe place to be in. And this is why, because of that uncertainty, people don't know what's going to happen next. And this is what causes people to have anxiety disorders, depression, and general anxiety disorder. All these things come in because people don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's almost like, imagine if you didn't know if you're going to eat the next meal, and we're always like worried, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to eat? What am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? And it's something that we really need to take into consideration. And I hope that all of us here, because if anything, those of you who are leaders and those of you who are doing well, it's up to us to study and research and make sure that we can counsel people well. Also, for those of you who are like, just might not be a leader, but one thing you might want to do is the social support system becomes very important. Meeting people, even if it's just one-on-one, meeting them, having lunch with them, talking to them on the phone, just making sure everyone is okay. And it's something that we should really do for each other right now also. So I really hope that you guys will be able to do these things for each other too. All right. So let's get into the praise time, okay? And of course, it is, praise is a fun thing too. And I'm going to play a fun song in the beginning, The Lord is My Joy and Hope, just to get things going. But I know that we also receive a lot of grace when we sing those songs we really know well with great melodies. And I chose two songs that we can sing together and kind of receive some grace from, right? And that is Heard in God's Ears. And the second song is From One Seed.
Life without the Lord, how could we live? No one could live like that. Without fun, without hope, oh, what kind of life is that? Since the Lord is my hope and joy, I'll always follow. The Lord is my pride. He's the source of my confidence. testify to all of the world. Please, love, testify for me. Then the Lord God will be with you, speaking through your lips every day. You will be moved by the Spirit. She'll enlighten you. Life without the Lord, how could we live? No one could live like that. Without fun, without hope, oh, what kind of life is that? Since the Lord is my hope and joy, I'll always follow. The Lord is my pride. He's the source of my confidence. When we hear the word of God, when we realize and take action, all our deeds become words heard in God's ears. He receives our actions, all the things we've done, all the words the Savior speaks, they are secrets from above. I will value every word and act to make them mine. My God, I know the value with every action I take. I'll proclaim the words I love you to the Trinity. Hear the confession of my deeds. I will act upon your word. Please receive my earnest heart, O Trinity. Through the world God created, through the things we go through in our lives, we receive inspiration from heaven. God sends us the Spirit and strength so we can run. All the words the Savior speaks, they are secrets from above. I will value every word and act to make them mine. My God, I know the value with every action I take. I'll proclaim the words I love you to the Trinity. Hear the confession of my deeds. I will act upon your word. Please receive my earnest heart, O Trinity. My God, I know the value with every action I take. I'll proclaim the words I love you to the Trinity. Hear the confession of my deeds. I will act upon your word. Please receive my earnest heart, O Trinity. Oh God, receive my love. May my actions be the words that reach your ears. gave us this and just one seed. That seed was sown and blossomed on the earth. And from that seed, history of the New Testament grew. From one seed, that golden field was made. Now that history has passed and gone away, a new time has come, a new seed has been sown upon this earth, and from that seed alone, the field of heaven grows, the harvest goes on, as spirits rapture up to you. Oh my Lord, you gave yourself and became the seed of heaven sown upon the earth. I'll tell the world about that love, how you fulfilled the will of God. I will preach till I can't preach anymore. Like you, I'll be a seed. Now, like a seed becomes a golden field, I will sow my life and spread this history all throughout the world. And just as you, my Lord, were thankful all the time, I will do the same. I'll harvest and transform myself. Oh my Lord, you gave yourself and became the seed of heaven sown upon the earth. I'll tell the world about that love, how you fulfilled the will of God. I will preach till I can't preach anymore. Oh my Lord, my only love, you have called me to the new history that's like a seed. You took my spirit to that place. You made me triumph through your grace. So I'll offer thanks and love to you, Lord, my bridegroom evermore. I will offer thanks and love to you, Lord, as I become a seed.
And that is From One Seed. I hope you guys really had a good time praising those songs together. We had From One Seed, Heard in God's Ears, and The Lord is My Joy and Hope. It's getting into the weekend, and I hope that everyone is just feeling really good about this weekend, and especially this week where God said there's treasures everywhere. And with these treasures, if we look in our own domain, we can find those things around us. And it's pretty crazy, the things that have happened to me this week. I think I can't share it yet until everything kind of gets filled and fulfilled, but it's something I'm really praying about right now at the moment. So what does that mean? It is time for the question of the day. So every Friday we have a question and answer session, and I had a question here from lecture training. Okay, and this is a great question because one of the things I do teach about in lecture training, there's this one verse that I talk about called John chapter 21, verse 25. And in this verse, it talks about there are so many things that cannot be said about Jesus. The story, there's just so many stories about Jesus. And it talks about, and if you were to write everything that Jesus said and did, it would take an entire house. Like the books would be just filled everywhere. Okay, so one of the things that Sunseem also teaches is we need to study from experts, study history. We have to study a lot of different things, and all these things begin to support the history of God. And one of the lectures I was doing the other day, which lecture was I doing? I believe I was doing conflict and ignorance. And the reason why this studying history came out, because when you study conflict and ignorance, it's something that's actually historically written in history, right? So historically, I know that we learned a little bit different. Like when I was younger in Providence, like maybe 10, 20 years ago, it was like the way we taught was a little bit different. But the actual history was, and there is something different in the Bible too, the Korean translation and the English translation. And I think the new translation of the Korean Bible is correct now. And what the English Bible says, I believe it's in like First Kings or Second Kings 23:29. Okay, it's one of those books. Second Kings 23:29, I believe, right? Let me just take a double check right here. 23 verse 29, correct. It says that in the English Bible, it says that Josiah, Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, went up to the Euphrates rivers to help the king of Assyria, right? So Egypt is going up to Carchemish to help Assyria. And interestingly, in Korean, it says he's going to fight. He's going to fight, right? So that's where it gets a little bit interesting. Like one says fight and one says help. So which one's right? And of course, there probably was, I'm not sure what actually happened in the past, but if you look at historically in the Battle of Megiddo in 609 BC, you'll see that historically speaking, Egypt went up to help Assyria because Babylon basically was taking over everything. And so learning history is a very important part. And after teaching this about conflict and ignorance, one of the questions came up was, well, can you give us an example of something else, right? Like, say, we don't know a lot about Martin Luther, but we can learn about Martin Luther in his, like, there's movies and stories and writings about Martin Luther. And someone asked, well, can you give us an example of something you could study outside of the Bible? Like, because, you don't know much about Martin Luther, or you got to study the story, but is there anything that you can, like, add to it? And I said, yeah, sure. One of the most, and I talked about here on the podcast too, one of the things you could talk about is, like, the printing press. Like, how perfect was the timing of the printing press? Okay? Now, you guys have to understand that the printing press was originally, like, made, like, the first printing press was made in China. Yeah, like well before Gutenberg made the printing press in 1440. Well before that time, we're talking like almost 1,000 years before, maybe even more. Yeah, I think it's more than 1,000 years before there was like a primitive version of a printing press that the Chinese used, right? So they were the first to do it. The only difference was Gutenberg kind of changed it, where you had, like in the printing press, you'd have to like carve in each of the letters, and then you have to keep carving. But Gutenberg, I believe, made like movable like letters, so you had to get each letter and you move the letters around to make other words and such, right? So it was much better. He made it in 1440, came out with a better version in 1450, but remember, Luther doesn't come for another like 78, like 80 years. Like the 95 Theses is like that most important, like that pivotal moment in the Protestant Reformation, where he posts the 95 things that are wrong with the Catholic Church, posted on the door of the church, right? And that's in 1517. So 1440 is when it first started. 1450 is when he kind of made it a better one. So how many years is that? That's like 67 years away, right? 67 years later is when Martin Luther actually posts the 95 Thesis. But the thing that's crazy is this. Gutenberg was the first one to kind of make this modern day printing press. But, there wasn't much demand for it because you couldn't do so many copies. And he would make a bunch of copies but couldn't sell much of it because most people couldn't speak Latin anyways. And he was borrowing money just to live his daily life. And eventually the people who lent him the money, they basically foreclosed. So the government said that, the court said Gutenberg had to give everything, all the printing presses, to them, right? So these two new guys got it and they began to make it even better, right? And over the next 60 years, like what happened was, this was happening in Germany. All these people are getting used to, like all these Germans are getting used to this printing press, and it's starting to grow a little bit more and more. And eventually there's demand in other countries like France and in the UK and in Spain. And these German printing press, like people worked on the printing press, they're the only ones that know how to do it. So what happens is these people get hired to make their own companies everywhere all over Europe. And by the time Martin Luther came along, what's even more interesting is by that time, there were copies and prints of so many of the books that were going. And it was kind of like, it wasn't modernized, but it became so popular that it was being used everywhere. There's printing companies everywhere. And I'll show you just how amazing it was. Like, Martin Luther, he used, he saw the printing press as such an advantage that he had so many people that were following him. It's kind of like followers like on social media. He had lay followers, right? And he needed a way to find a way to get all his writings to them. And that's where the printing press came in, right? Now, what makes it more interesting is by the time Luther wrote the 95 Thesis, do you know how fast things were getting printed? And like, it's kind of like social media. Like right now, someone says something, you put on video, it goes up, and then like within minutes, it goes viral, right? Now, back then, it didn't go viral in minutes, obviously. But it did go viral in that 15th century time. So when Martin Luther posted the 95 Thesis, you know how long it took for England to start making copies of it? It took 17 days, as crazy as it sounds. He posted the 95 Thesis, and 17 days later, it's already being printed and copied in the UK. And that's how this Protestant Reformation spread even more, because printing press, by the time Martin Luther came along, it was ready and made, right? Whereas all over Europe, and it went viral, basically. You can burn as many copies as you want, but it went viral so much to the point that you couldn't do anything about it. And Luther was, God brought Luther at the perfect time when the printing press was basically, I don't want to say perfected, but it was widely used. And that's why it's something that when you do study other things of the time, it does match up. And you can see how God has perfectly timed everything, right? So that's an example I used. Because in the past, everything was handwritten. It was handwritten by monks. And, it's not just about writing it. It has to be written nicely. And it was something where people, like monks back in the past, were given a book and they're given a year to read it and write it. So these monks, like one copy is like taking a year or maybe less than a year, but that's how much time they were given. And think about this. If it's handwritten, if there's a mistake, you got to start all over. You got to do that page over again. So it's something that this printing press just completely modernized. It changed the world when it came to information, the access of information. So when you look at it, like God planned everything so perfectly to the point that when Luther came along, man, it was ready to go. So if you even think about what I just talked about, right? So even at the time of Martin Luther, I'm studying something not in the Bible or not in the story of Luther, but it's something where you learn about, like, wow, God is really perfected the time. That right when Luther came, the printing press was ready to go. Because imagine if Gutenberg made the printing press at the same time as Luther. Nothing would have gotten done. It wouldn't have gone viral. But it was like 70, 80, 60, 70, almost 80 years before Martin Luther posted 95 Thesis. So it was actually invented before Luther was even born. And then it was perfected and made, so it got modernized, and then it spread all over Europe. And by the time it hit Luther, it was ready to go. So the timing of God is impeccable. So that's how I would answer that question. Yeah, when you study stuff outside, you're going to see amazing things happen. Cool. All right, and that brings us into the song of choice for the day. I've been doing this person's song for Phil Collins. I don't know why. I guess because he's the first person that I had the tape of, a cassette tape of. This song I really, really love because it's about love, right? It's the third Phil Collins song this week. I'm just inspired by his music. He's really good, and I grew up with him. And this song is a fun song too to kind of end things off for you guys on this work week. This song is from 1982. This was covered by Phil Collins in 1982. It's called "You Can't Hurry Love," which was originally sung by the Supremes in 1966, right? So this is an old song. It's from 1966, even before I was born, 12 years before I was born, but still in the year of the horse. Yay! So originally from 1966, sung by the Supremes, redone in 1982 by Phil Collins. This song is "You Can't Hurry Love." Love. Oh, what a great song. It reminds me of my days in high school. Cool. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed that song. It was a fun song, wasn't it? Yeah, so if you guys have any other requests of songs you really want to hear, things from the oldies but goodies, or anything that's more modern, and you give me your, like, say, oh, I love this song because of this, or reminds me of this, go ahead and just write it in the comments. I would love to play the requests that you guys have too for this song of choice. It could be any song ever. It could be an Indian song, a Filipino song, it could be an Indonesian song, it could be any song, Malaysian song, Chinese song. It's all good. Like, even for me, I grew up with, like, what's his name? Jackie Chung. I grew up with him, so I know some of his Chinese songs. He's very, very, one of the probably, like, considered, well, when I was growing up, they called him not so good looking, but the greatest voice. Jackie Chung, yeah. Either way. So let's move into our Bible stories of the day. Yes. So I know that you guys look forward to this, and I know a lot of people are saying, oh, they love the Bible stories. And today's story is actually quite easy because it's a story of Isaac. Now, for those of you who don't know, Isaac's story is super short. It's like not even a chapter. It was all about Abraham. Abraham sacrificed about to sacrifice him. You don't hear anything else. And then, like, the next story you hear, like, here, let's go into the story of Isaac. So when Abraham got older, he ordered his chief servant to find a wife for Isaac. Right? And he wanted to find one among his relatives because that was the tradition back then, the culture back then. But he didn't want, Isaac to marry a Canaanite woman. So what happened was the servant went to the homeland of Abraham, and he reached a spring where a woman came to draw water, and he prayed to God. He says, God, help me find a girl. So this is a chief servant, right? Help me find a girl. And he prayed to God saying, God, if I say to a girl, please let down your jar so I can have a drink, and if she replies, drink, and I will water your camels too, let her be the one that God chose for Isaac. So right at that moment, like right after he prays his prayer, Rebecca, the daughter of Bethuel, shows up, and the exact same dialogue happens. Then the servant talks to her and says, hey, look, this is a situation. I'm coming from Abraham, right? And it's the will of the Lord. So the parents agreed and said, okay, you can go ahead and marry. And Rebecca, they agreed to let Rebecca become the wife of Isaac. Now the parents asked the daughter to stay for 10 days, but the servant like, no, we got to go immediately right now. So they allowed her to go, and Isaac married Rebecca. And then you have to know that at that time, Isaac was 40 years old, and his wife, Rebecca, was barren, but prayed to God, and God answered the prayer, and she became pregnant. Interesting fact is that the babies were jostling each other within her, and she's asking, whoa, what's happening? And basically the Lord told her that there are two people within her, and from them 2 nations would be separated. One would be stronger than the other. The older will serve the younger, which means that she already knew that Jacob would be the one that God chose over Esau, right? So the firstborn was Esau, and he was born with kind of red and hairy, like red skin, so they named him Esau, which means red. And the second one came out of the womb, basically, they were basically born at the same time, because Esau came out, and Jacob was holding his heel while he was coming out. So he named Jacob, because it means to grasp the heel. So think about that. That was the end of the story. Isn't there anything else we're supposed to know about Isaac before it gets to to Jacob and Esau? And the question is, well, what is the significance of Isaac then? Because it was such a long story of Abraham setting the condition for all of the Old Testament, restoring what Adam and Noah's son Ham broke. And then Isaac is such a short story. It's basically finding his wife, and it's done. And then he has these 2 kids in his stomach, and it's Jacob and Esau. So the thing we have to understand is that Isaac was the one that set the individual condition of faith, right? After his father Abraham set the condition to restore Adam and Noah to begin the Old Testament time period. And according to Sunstein, one of the big things that Isaac did was he obeyed his father even to the point of death, right? So his father, even though was sacrificing him, Isaac's like, Dad, where is the sacrifice? We're going to go up a mountain, and all you have is me. right? And God, and and Abraham's like, don't worry, God's gonna provide. God's gonna provide. And you got to think about this. Don't you think it's kind of weird? Like Isaac would get the point when he starts to bind his son. Episode, which means that it's going to be a great time, and I'm definitely going to do something good for you guys on Monday, and I just want to some prizes to give away, and also I want to really be able to try and do something new for the podcast on Monday. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to put out some questions, prizes. It doesn't matter where you are. I'm going to send these prizes wherever you are. Right? And you're going to be surprised at the things that you're going to see for the prizes. They're going to be really cool, right? And also you're going to see something new added to this MSD 117.8 podcast. So what does that mean? It means it is the end of today's podcast on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend, and we'll see you guys again on the 100th episode on Monday.
Let it happen. Yeah. Believe in yourself and believe in somebody.
Gotta believe in yourself. Cause no one else will.
You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure.
You wanna make it happen? Don't ever back down from the challenge ahead.